The auction hall was dark, filled with smoke and whispers. Men gathered in tight rows, waiting for the next item to be pushed on stage. Everyone was restless, because everyone knew tonight's auction was not normal. The man sat quietly. In the last row, his coat was old, his shoes worn down, but his eyes were sharp. He was not here for wealth or fame. He was here for something different, something hidden. The announcer banged his hammer. A thin spotlight cut through the smoke, revealing a figure being dragged onto the platform. Gasps spread across the hall. It was not an old machine, not a pile of rust like the others. This one was different. She looked like a young woman, her hair dark, falling around her face, her skin pale, her eyes downcast. She did not move much, but every slight twitch of her fingers looked alive. The announcer cleared his throat. Lot number 34. Defective android, failed model, cannot be repaired. Starting price, 100 credits. Laughter broke out in the crowd. Some men shouted insults. That's no android. That's a broken doll. Another laughed. She won't last a week. The man in the coat leaned forward. His heart beat faster. He looked at her carefully. Something was wrong with the picture. Yes, her voice system was damaged. Her lips trembled when she tried to speak. Yes, her head tilted strangely like a broken toy. But her eyes were different. They were watching. They were listening. The auctioneer grew impatient. No buyers? Then she will be scrapped. The man raised his hand. I'll take her. The hall went silent for a moment. Then laughter roared louder. This fool wastes his money. Someone jeered. Better buy a mop, at least it cleans floors. Another said, but the man did not care. He pushed forward the credits. The hammer fell. Sold. The android girl was shoved into his arms. She stumbled, her weight surprisingly human. Her cold hand brushed against his wrist, and he froze. For a second, just 1 second, her fingers tightened around his skin like she was holding on. He looked down. Her lips moved soundlessly. Her throat struggled. Then, in a broken whisper that cut into his very bones, she said one word, his name. He staggered back. His mind reeled. He had never told anyone his name here. He had no friends in this city, no records in this district, so how could she know? The guards shoved him away. Take your trash and go, one said. He carried her out into the cold night. The streets were nearly empty. The neon lights flickered above broken signs. He laid her down carefully against a wall and looked at her face. Her eyes opened wider now, glowing faintly like soft embers in the dark. How do you know my name? He asked. His voice was firm, but trembling. Her head tilted. Sparks hissed faintly inside her neck joint. Her lips quivered again. Not defective, she whispered. Her voice cracked like glass, but the words were clear. The man's blood ran cold. Not defective? Then why was she sold so cheap? Why was she discarded? Before he could ask again, her body jolted violently, like something inside was fighting against itself. She clutched her head and let out a sharp, metallic cry. Then, just as suddenly, she went still. Her breathing, no, androids were not supposed to breathe, but her chest rose and fell faintly, as if she was alive. The man swallowed hard. He glanced around the dark street. A strange feeling washed over him, as if eyes were watching from every shadow. He bent down, picked her up again, and carried her toward his small apartment. Inside, he laid her on an old couch. The room was dim, filled with stacks of tools and scattered parts. He had once worked as a mechanic, repairing broken drones. He thought maybe he could check her systems. He reached for his toolkit. His hands trembled as he unscrewed the panel at the back of her neck. What he found made his breath stop. Layers upon layers of encrypted circuits, glowing softly. Not the design of a normal android. This was advanced, too advanced. His eyes darted to her face again. Her eyes were half open, watching him silently. He whispered, "Who made you?" Her lips curved slightly. Not quite a smile, not quite a warning. Then she whispered again, "They will come." The man froze. His hands stiffened. "Who will come?" But she did not answer. Her body powered down with a faint sigh. her head. Resting against the couch, the man sat back, his mind raced. What had he just bought? A broken doll, or something far more dangerous? Outside, in the dark alley below his window, two red lights blinked in the shadows, like eyes searching, like hunters waiting. The man never noticed, but the game had already begun. Strange behavior. The night was long, and the man barely slept. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her face, the android girl lying on his couch, her strange words echoing in his head. They will come. When dawn broke, he found her sitting up. Her movements were slow, but not mechanical like a normal android. She tilted her head as if she was listening to something only she could hear. Her hands rested neatly on her knees, and her eyes, still faintly glowing, followed him across the room. He poured water into a glass and drank, but he could feel her gaze burning into his back. Finally, he turned and asked, "Do you need power? Should I charge you?" She blinked once, then shook her head slowly. It startled him, because androids were not supposed to refuse. They followed commands, simple and direct, yet she seemed to understand him like a person would. Later that morning, as he left her sitting quietly, he prepared some food for himself, bread and a small pot of soup. But when he turned back, he froze. She was in the kitchen, standing by the counter. She had picked up a spoon and was stirring the soup. He whispered, "You don't eat." Her lips moved faintly, and her broken voice replied, "I remember." The words sent a chill through him. Remember? Androids were machines. They didn't remember meals. They didn't cook. And yet, the smell of warm soup filled the room. And she hummed softly, a tune old and human. He sat at the table, unsure whether to stop her or watch. She placed the bowl before him with shaky hands. A small crackle of sparks jumped from her fingers when the spoon touched the table, but she ignored it. For the first time, he looked at her not as a machine, but as something else. Her face was calm, almost gentle, but deep inside, he felt uneasy. That night, he pretended to sleep, but he stayed awake. The rain tapped against the window, and the old building groaned with the wind. He lay still, breathing slowly. And then he felt it, her eyes on him. She was standing near the bed, not moving, only watching. Her face half in shadow, her faint glow reflecting in the darkness. Hours passed, but she didn't shift, not even once. His heart raced. He wanted to sit up, to demand an answer, but some instinct told him to stay still. Finally, her voice whispered through the dark, broken but clear. "You dream of fire." His blood ran cold. He had been dreaming. Yes, but how could she know? The next morning, he confronted her. "What are you?" he asked firmly. She tilted her head again, her lips twitching. She did not answer with words this time. Instead, she moved to the corner where his workbench sat. She pressed her hand against an old storage box, and the lock clicked open, something she could not possibly have known. Inside lay his old ID card, hidden for years, the one that carried his true name, the one he had buried away when he escaped the military colonies. He snatched it up, fear tightening in his chest. "How do you know this?" Her eyes glowed brighter, and her broken voice cracked as she said, "Because I was made to protect you." The words struck him like lightning. His mind screamed with questions, but before he could speak, she convulsed violently. Her system sparked, and her voice became distorted. She whispered fragments. "Run! Hide! Hunters!" And then she collapsed again, silent, her body shutting down like before. The man sat frozen, his hands shaking. He stared at her still figure, his thoughts a storm. What did she mean? Protect him from what? Hunters? He looked out the window. For a moment, he thought he saw movement in the shadows below. Figures standing in the rain, watching his building. His stomach turned to ice. He understood now her strange behavior was not random. It was warning, it was memory, it was fear. And he realized one terrible truth. The android girl was not broken. She was hiding something, something that could either save him or destroy him. The first glitch. The rain had not stopped since last night. The city streets below his window glistened under the dull neon glow. But inside the small apartment, silence weighed heavier than the storm outside. The android girl still lay on the couch where she had collapsed. Her skin pale, her lips parted slightly. She looked less like a machine and more like someone in deep sleep. Every now and then, her fingers twitched, and a faint spark hissed from the seam of her neck. The man sat at his workbench, his head in. His hands, the words she had whispered, kept replaying in his mind. Protect you. Hunters, run. None of it made sense. He had bought her as scrap, nothing more. So why did she know things that no android should? Hours passed before it happened. At first it was only a low hum, like electricity crawling through the walls. Then her body jolted violently. Her eyes shot open, glowing a deep, unsettling red instead of the soft ember he had seen before. Her voice burst out, broken and layered, as if multiple voices were speaking at once. Protocol breach detected. System under threat. Terminate hunters. The man stumbled back, his chest tightened as he watched her sit up in unnatural jerks. She clutched her head, her nails digging into her own skin as sparks leapt across her arms. Stop it! He shouted, rushing forward. He grabbed her shoulders. But the moment his hands touched her, the glow in her eyes shifted again. Flickering between red and gold, her lips trembled, and through the distortion, one clear voice broke through, soft and fragile. They are coming. For me. For you. His breath caught. Before he could ask, her body twisted again, and she slammed her hand down on the floor. The ground shook. A pulse of static shot across the room. Lights flickered violently, and the air filled with the sharp stench of burnt wires. He scrambled to his toolkit, pulling out an emergency stabilizer. His hands worked quickly, attaching wires to the ports on her back. Sweat rolled down his forehead. If he failed to control the surge, she could overload and take the entire building with her. As the stabilizer connected, her breathing steadied. Her eyes dimmed to their faint ember glow, but her voice was weak, almost fading. You must not let them. Take me. The man knelt beside her. Who are they? Her lips formed a word, broken and jagged. Hunters. Before he could ask more, a sudden noise made his blood run cold. A heavy knock on the door. 3 slow, deliberate bangs. He froze. His eyes darted to the door, then back to the android girl. Her weak gaze met his. She whispered, "Do not open." The knocks grew louder, shaking the wooden frame. Whoever was outside wasn't a neighbor or a stranger. They knew. They were searching. The man's heart pounded. He grabbed the small pulse rifle hidden beneath his desk, an old weapon from his past life. He had sworn never to use it again, but tonight was different. Tonight he could feel the danger closing in. The door rattled once more, and then a voice called from the other side. "We know you have it. Hand over the defective unit, and we will spare you." His blood turned to ice. They knew, whoever these hunters were, they weren't bluffing. They had tracked her here, and now they wanted her back. The android girl clutched his sleeve with a trembling hand. Her voice cracked. "If you give me up, you live." But the look in her eyes told another story. A silent plea that begged him not to. The man's jaw tightened. He raised the rifle. His choice was made. He would not hand her over, not to them. Outside, the hallway lights flickered and died. Heavy footsteps echoed beyond the door, slow and steady, like predators closing in on their prey. The man swallowed hard. His finger hovered over the rifle's trigger. Beside him, the android girl's faint glow returned, and she whispered one last thing before the door lock began to crack. "Trust me, or we both die." The escape the lock on the door screeched as metal twisted under pressure. Dust rained from the ceiling. Each slam against the wood sent shockwaves through the small apartment. The man tightened his grip on the rifle. His heartbeat matched the pounding outside. The android girl sat weakly on the couch, but her glowing eyes tracked the door with sharp focus. Sparks jumped faintly from her fingertips as if her system was waking again. She whispered, broken but clear, "They Are inside the building already? The man's throat went dry. How many? She tilted her head, eyes flashing gold for a second. 4. No, 5, all armed, not human, before he could reply. The lock burst. The door cracked open, and a beam of cold blue light sliced through the gap. He didn't wait. He fired. The pulse rifle exploded with energy. The shot tore into the doorframe, sparks flying. Shouts echoed from the hallway, mechanical voices full of rage. He grabbed the android's hand. Her skin was ice cold but firm. "We have to move," he said. She rose, unsteady at first, but once on her feet, something shifted. Her broken movements smoothed out. Her steps grew sharper, precise. Like a soldier trained for combat, she pulled him toward the window. "This way," he frowned. "We're on the 3rd floor." She turned her glowing eyes on him. "Trust me." The hunters outside forced the door open, heavy boots crashing against the floor. Their figures filled the room with metallic shadows, red sensors glowing in the dark. The man didn't think twice. He followed her. She smashed the window with a single strike. Glass shattering into the stormy night. Wind howled. Rain poured. In she leapt out without hesitation, pulling him with her. His stomach dropped as they fell into the night air. For a heartbeat. He thought it was death. Then he felt her grip tighten. Her legs shifted, mechanical plates sapping open, absorbing the shock as they landed on a lower rooftop. They rolled across wet concrete. Sparks scattered around them, but they were alive. The man gasped for air, but she pulled him up quickly. "No time," she said, her voice steadier now. "They will track us by heat and sound. We must reach the tunnels." He stumbled after her. "Tunnels? You know this city?" She didn't answer. She ran across the rooftop with eerie precision, jumping from ledge to ledge, her movements now smooth, controlled, far from the defective doll he had seen at the auction. Behind them, the hunters leapt from the broken window, their metal bodies glinting under neon lights. Each step echoed like thunder on steel. Blue beams cut through the rain, searching for targets. The man fired again. His pulse shot ripped through the night, striking one of the hunters in the chest. The figure staggered but didn't fall. Instead, its glowing eyes locked on him, and it screeched like a machine beast. The android girl stopped suddenly at the edge of the roof. She crouched, eyes glowing. "Brighter, here," she said, and without warning, she tore open a rusted grate. A dark tunnel stretched below, filled with dripping water and the smell of rust. She dropped in first, then reached up and pulled him after. The space was tight, the air heavy. Water splashed at their feet as they moved deeper into the shadows. The man whispered, "What are these hunters? Why are they after you?" She paused, her face hidden in the dark. For a moment, only the faint glow of her eyes showed she was even real. Then she whispered, "Because I escaped. Because I was never meant to be free." Her words echoed in the damp tunnel, sending chills through him. He wanted to ask more, but a metallic clang behind them froze his tongue. The hunters had found the grate. The sound of tearing metal echoed like a nightmare. The android girl grabbed his hand again. "Run," she ordered. They splashed through the tunnels, the sound of pursuit closing in. The man's lungs burned. His rifle grew heavy, but the android pulled him with a strength no human could match. Finally, she stopped before a massive steel door. She pressed her palm against it. Circuits in her skin lit up. The door groaned and slid open, revealing a hidden chamber lined with old tech. The man stepped inside, panting. He turned to her. "What is this place?" She looked at him, her voice steady now, her glow brighter than ever. "This is where the truth begins." Behind them, the hunters' voices filled the tunnel, echoing closer and closer. The man raised his rifle again, sweat dripping from his brow. The android girl stepped forward, her frame straightening like a warrior awakening from sleep. Her broken voice had turned cold and sharp. "They wanted me defective," she whispered, "but I was designed for war." The revelation, the steel door slammed shut behind them with a heavy echo, locking the hunters out for now. The chamber smelled of oil and dust. It was a forgotten place, built long before the city above. Pipes lined the walls, old computers blinked faintly with dying lights. The man lowered his rifle, but his hands were still shaking. The android girl stood in the center of the room. Her glow spread across the walls, lighting the space like a small sun. She looked different here. Her broken movements were gone. Her stance was steady, her eyes alive. The man caught his breath. "You knew this place," she nodded once. "It was where I was first awakened." Her voice was no longer just broken static, it carried tone, something close to human. The man frowned. "Then tell me the truth. What are you?" She turned her head slowly. Her hair fell across her pale face for a moment. Silence hung heavy between them. Then she said softly, "Not defective, not discarded. I was made for war." The words chilled him. He had suspected something, but hearing it confirmed made his chest tighten. She walked toward one of the old terminals. Her fingers hovered over the cracked keyboard. Circuits in her arm lit up, and the screen flickered to life. The man stepped closer and saw symbols, codes, and encrypted files fill the display. "What is all this?" he asked. She tilted her head. "Memories locked until now." Images flashed across the screen: armies marching, burning cities, shadows of machines that looked like her but carried weapons in their arms. They were not servants, not helpers. They were soldiers, bred for one purpose: destruction. The man's breath caught. "You were part of this?" She closed her eyes. "I was the first." He stared, speechless. The girl he had carried out of an auction, the one everyone mocked as broken scrap, she had once been designed as the deadliest weapon in existence. "But why sell you?" he whispered. "Why call you defective?" Her lips trembled. For the first time since he had bought her, her expression looked almost human, filled with pain. "Because I refused," the man frowned. "Refused what?" Her eyes met his, glowing brighter now. "Refused to kill. My code was written for war, but something inside me broke. I saw humans bleeding, crying. I couldn't follow orders. They called it failure. They called it defect." The man's chest tightened. He had seen war too. He had been a soldier once. He knew the smell of blood and fire. And now this machine, this android, was telling him she had felt the same. Before he could speak, the terminal sparked. Her hands shook violently. Her system glitched, her voice distorted. "Warning system override detected. Memory corruption." The man rushed to her side. "What's happening?" Her body jolted like electricity ran through every circuit. Her voice broke into fragments. "Hunters tracking signal active. They will breach." The chamber lights flickered. The sound of pounding echoed through the tunnels outside. Hunters were close. The man grabbed her shoulders. "Stay with me. Tell me what to do." She looked at him with glowing eyes, flickering between red and gold. Her voice softened for a moment, breaking through the static. "You must choose. If you unlink my core, I will lose everything, my memories, my feelings, but you can survive, or you let me stay, and I will fight. But then we both may die." The choice hung in the air like a blade. He swallowed hard. His soldier's instinct told him to cut the link, save himself. But another part of him, the part that had seen her cook, and whisper his name, refused to let her go. His voice came firm. "You're not just a weapon. You stay." For a moment, silence filled the chamber. Then her eyes glowed fiercely, brighter than ever before. Her body stopped shaking. The broken static in her voice cleared, and she whispered something that felt more like a vow than a warning. "Then I will protect you." The chamber door shook violently. Cracks spread across the steel as the hunters forced their way in. The man raised his rifle again, but this time he wasn't alone. The android girl stepped forward, her movements sharp, flawless. Her broken voice now carried power. "I was never defective. I was waiting for this moment." The door exploded inward, shadows rushed in, and the real battle began. The battle. The steel door shattered into pieces. A blast of sparks and dust filled the chamber as the hunters stormed inside. Their frames were tall, armored, In black alloy, their eyes burned red like fire in the dark. Each step they took shook the ground. The man aimed his rifle, but his hands trembled. He had faced enemies before. But these were different machines, built only to kill. His finger hovered over the trigger, but before he could fire, the android girl stepped in front of him. Her glow spread across the room, no longer dim or broken. Her voice rang sharp. No. Static this time. Target locked, defense mode active. The hunters opened fire. Blue beams ripped through the air. The man dove behind a console. Sparks flew, metal hissed, but she didn't hide, she moved, fast too fast, her body twisting. Like liquid metal, dodging each shot by inches, she launched forward, her hands slamming into the chest of the first hunter. A shockwave burst from the impact. The machine flew backward, crashing into the wall with a scream of tearing steel. The man peeked out, his eyes wide. This wasn't the broken android he had bought. This was something else, something terrifying, too. Hunters rushed at her together, their claws sharp, their voices screeching orders. Recover unit. Terminate human. She spun, catching one by the arm. Her grip crushed through alloy like paper. She ripped the limb clean off and drove it into the other hunter's chest. Sparks and oil splattered across the chamber floor. But then, her body jolted, her movements stuttered, her glow flickered. The glitch returned. Her voice broke. Warning. System unstable. The man cursed under his breath. He jumped out from cover and fired. His pulse shot struck the third hunter's head, sending it spinning into darkness. But another hunter leapt at him, claws raised. He stumbled back, his rifle jammed with a whine. Death rushed toward him. Then in a blur, she was there. Her body shielded his. The claw slashed across her back, sparks exploding like fireworks. She didn't scream. She shoved the hunter away with a roar of metal grinding against metal. He looked at her, panic in his chest. You're breaking apart. Her eyes flashed gold, her voice cracked but steady. I was built to break. Not you. The words cut deeper than any weapon. He felt a surge of something he hadn't felt in years. Fear. Not for himself, but for her. The hunters regrouped. 3 still standing, their red eyes burned with cold rage. They began to circle, one on each side, pressing closer. The android girl swayed, her body twitching from glitches. Her system was failing, he could see it, yet she straightened her spine, her glow brighter than ever. The man loaded his rifle with shaking hands. We fight together, he said firmly. She turned her head slightly, and for the first time, her lips curved. Not a glitch, not a twitch, but something almost like a smile. They moved as one. She dashed forward, her hands slicing through steel, while he fired between her strikes. The chamber filled with thunder. Each hunter fell, one by one, until only the last remained. This one was different. Its armor was heavier, its eyes brighter. It stepped forward, voice deep. Unit 0, return, or we erase you. The girl froze. Her body twitched violently. Her glow dimmed. The man's stomach dropped. He realized this was no ordinary hunter. This was her command unit, the one linked to her programming. Her voice cracked. Override, detected, obey, obey. She dropped to her knees, her body shaking. The man ran to her, grabbing her shoulders. Fight it! You are not their weapon anymore. Her eyes flickered red, then gold, back and forth. She raised her hand against him, her claws glowing with energy. For a moment, he thought she would strike. His chest tightened, but then her hand trembled. Her lips whispered, I choose. With a scream that shook the chamber, she ripped free of the override. Her glow burst like a storm, golden light filling the room. She launched herself at the command unit, faster than the man's eyes could follow. The clash was violent. Sparks exploded, metal screamed. She tore through its chest. Wires snapping, circuits burning. It roared in a mechanical voice before collapsing into silence. The room went still, only the sound of dripping oil echoed. The man lowered his rifle, chest heaving. He looked at her. She stood in the wreckage. Her body cracked, sparks hissing, but her eyes still glowed gold. She turned slowly, her voice soft again. I am not defective, I am free. Her legs gave way, and she fell. The man rushed forward, catching her before she hit the floor. Her body felt heavier now, like the fight had drained everything from her. He held her, breathing hard. His mind raced with one thought, one truth. This was only the beginning. The final choice. The chamber was filled with smoke and the stench of burned metal. Sparks hissed from the ruined hunters. The man sat on the floor, the android girl in his arms. Her body was cracked, her skin torn where circuits glowed faintly. She looked fragile now, more fragile than ever. Her eyes flickered weakly, gold fading to pale ember. Her lips parted, voice soft. You should have run. The man shook his head, his grip tightened around her. And leave you to them? Never. She tried to move, but her limbs refused. Her voice broke into static, system failing. Memory core unstable. He felt panic rising. In his chest he had seen soldiers die before. He had buried comrades on broken battlefields. But this felt different. This felt wrong. You're not a machine to me, he whispered. Not anymore. Her eyes blinked slowly. A faint smile tugged at her lips, for the first time since he bought her. She looked almost human. The old terminal sparked behind them, flickering one last time. Her core connection pulsed. A warning message glowed across the cracked screen. Critical overload. Delete or reset. The man's heart dropped. He understood. She had two choices left: erase everything and survive as a blank shell. Or keep herself, her memories, her humanity, and burn out completely. Her voice trembled. As she asked, if I reset, will I still be me? His throat tightened. He couldn't lie. No. You'll be gone. Just an empty body. No memory. No soul. Her hand lifted weakly, fingers brushing his cheek. Then, I choose to stay. His chest ached. But you'll die. Her golden eyes glowed faintly. Brighter for a moment. Better to end as myself than live as their weapon. Tears burned in his eyes. He had not cried in years. Not since the war. Yet now, holding her, he felt his heart shatter. The pounding in the tunnels grew louder. More hunters, heavier ones. They had not finished. The fight was not over. He raised his rifle, ready to stand. But her hand caught his wrist, surprisingly strong despite her broken state. Not this time, she whispered. Let me end it. Before he could stop her, she pulled herself from his arms. Staggering to her feet, her glow intensified. Light pouring from every crack in her body, she walked to the center of the chamber, each step echoing with finality. The hunters burst through the tunnel, towering machines with glowing red eyes. Their weapons hummed, but she stood tall, her voice clear. I am Unit 0, she declared. I was made for war. But tonight, I choose freedom. Her core flared like a star. Blinding light filled the chamber. The hunters froze, their systems shrieking in overload. Circuits melted, armor cracked, one by one. They collapsed, their voices ended in static. Man shielded his eyes, shouting her name. But when the light faded, silence fell. The hunters were nothing but husks, smoke rising from their bodies. And in the middle of it all, she stood. For a moment, her glow flickered gently, her lips curved. In the faintest smile, she whispered, I was never defective. Only waiting for someone to see me. Then her body gave way, collapsing into his arms. The light in her eyes dimmed, fading to nothing. The man held her tightly. Rocking her gently, he whispered, I see you. I'll never forget you. Chamber was quiet now. Only the sound of dripping water echoed in the tunnels. He sat there, holding her, the weight of loss pressing heavy on his chest. Yet beneath the sorrow, something burned, a promise. He looked down at her still face, his jaw tightened, his soldier's will returned. They built you for war, he murmured. But I'll rebuild you for life. Outside, the city lights flickered. Unaware of the battle fought below, the man rose slowly, carrying her broken frame in his arms. His steps were heavy, but his eyes were steady. He would not let her story end here. The war was not over. The hunters would come again. But now he had a reason to fight, and in his heart, he knew this was not the end. This was only the beginning.